So yesterday we have discussed about orchestrator. We came to know about basic things about the orchestrator. So today we're going to configure our robot to orchestrator. So navigate to the orchestrator, which is your platform.uipath.com, and log in with your credentials which you have registered. So now you have logged into orchestrator. So now open your UiPath robot. So go to start and just type UiPath robot service. Also you open UiPath studio. So once your robot is opened up, just go to settings over here. Now you can see that you have machine name as desktop M5T3G1. So this is a machine name. So copy this machine name. Now go to your orchestrator, click on robot. Now in the robot section we have two tabs. One is robot and one is environment. So click on robot tab and click on plus sign. So this is the place where you configure your robot login configuration. So in the machine name, you have to give your robot name. So go to your robot machine name, copy this, give the same name over here in the machine. Now again you go back to your system. So go to start, open command prompt and type host name. Also type one more command, who am I. Now copy this who am I output from here. Go back to orchestrator, paste in your domain username and password. Now in the name you have to give your robot name. So you can give that robot1. In the password section, you have to give your Windows password which you used to log in. So your Windows password. Description you can give this is a demo robot. Now in the type you have to select development. As per the license, we have two development license. So we can connect two robots over here. So this is the first robot which we are connecting now to the orchestrator. So in the type you select your development. Password is your system login password. Username is your system login username. Now this is the same username which you used to log in your robot, your desktop in which your robot is there. Your name of the robot can be any name. Once you're given this information, copy the key and then click on provision. So your robot has been provisioned. Now once the robot has been provisioned, you go back to edit and you copy the key from here. Now you go back to the orchestrator. Make sure that your local system is connected to the internet. In the key section, you give your robot key, and in the orchestrator URL, you have to give your platform URL over here, and then click on connect. So it will take 2 minutes of time. If everything is fine, you can see over here it is connected now. So the status is connected, and you'll get one icon as disconnected, which means if you want to disconnect, just click over here. It will disconnect from the orchestrator. Similarly, if you want to connect it back once again, so again you give the serial key, so your license key. So the license key is something which you're going to get it from your robot which you have orchestrated. So from here, robot over here, copy the key. Now go back to your robot key. Click on connect. So now our robot is connected. Close the configuration window. Now go back to the orchestrator. You can see over here there is a small indication which says that it is available, and then it is connected. So if it is connected, the status will be available. In case it is disconnected, just try disconnecting now. Go to your robot. Just try disconnecting. So once you are disconnected, you can see over here the status is disconnected. So your orchestrator and your robot will be always in a sync. Now through community edition, you can connect only two robots. So once it is connected, you can see over here the status be changed to available. Now how does an orchestrator and robot talk to each other? So both robots and orchestrator are connected to each other with the help of heartbeat signal. So orchestrator will keep on sending heartbeat signals every second, every 3 seconds or 4 seconds to make sure that the orchestrator and the robot is communicating. So if the robot is responding back to the signal, that means it is connected, and if it is not responding back to the signal, that means it is disconnected. So the orchestrator will keep on sending a heartbeat signal to the robot. This heartbeat signal will also contain your robot login credentials. So whichever robots you are connecting, that robot's credentials will also be incorporated in the same heartbeat signal, and orchestrator try to connect and log into the robots and keep on checking the status. So you can see over here in the screen, in UiPath Orchestrator, we have a small tab called Heartbeat. So Heartbeat is basically the signal which orchestrator keep on sending to the robot to make sure that the connection is successful. So every second or 3 seconds, 4 seconds, your heartbeat, your orchestrator will keep on sending the signal, and it will be connected. Based on the signal strength and signal confirmation, the status is defined. At any point of time, if you want to see the logs, click on this robot. You have in the right side, we have action. So when you click on action, you can see the logs. So these are the logs. So these are the same logs which you're going to find in your robot for the execution. So when you click over here, robots, so you'll find logs. So all your robot execution logs will be synced to your orchestrator. Now we have a robot connected to our orchestrator. Now let's create one environment. So go to environment section, click on plus sign, and you can give one environment. So I'm going to give a name as development, process development environment. If you want to add some description, you can add a description. and then in the type you have to select development. Click on create. So once your environment has been created, in that environment you have to map your orchestrator. So in that environment you have to map your robot. So select the robot which you want to map, click on update. So now we have a robot, and this robot you can see in the environment column, it is connected to the environment section over here. At any point of time you can click on environment, you can do some modification, you can see some more options. If you want to add more robots, you can add it over here. Now let's go back to the studio and try to execute one simple process. So I'm going to give a name as robotic process 1. So in this process I'm just going to add one message box, and the message box to just to display welcome to robotic execution. Once your process is ready, give a small test. So this is a message box. So now what we'll do is that we'll try to execute the same process through orchestrator. How to execute that? Go to your setup. In the setup menu you will find one option called publish. So when you click on publish, automatically your package is published to the orchestrator. You can see the package name is the process name and the version is 1.0. So can you click on OK? So your package is published now. So you go to your UiPath orchestrator, click in the process section, add a process. So you can see over here your process name is highlighted. So this is the same process which you have published. Automatically the package version will come over here. Which environment you want to execute the process and create. So now we have one process. Let's suppose you want to execute a process in that environment. Click on play, select the process. Now what happens, right, when you select the robot, click on start. So now your process has been executing, and see, you can see over here instance. You can see there is a play button. That means the process status is running. See on the status, the process is running. So now you go back to the orchestrator. You can see over here in the studio, we have a message box coming up. This is what we have executed through control room or through orchestrator. Want to execute once again? Go to process. Again you add a process, or you can just select the same process. Sorry, process already added. So click on this job again. Select the process. Which robot you want to execute? Select the robot. Click on start. Again a signal has been sent. Now you can see the status, it is running over here. When I go to the UiPath Studio, you can see a message box is coming up. So this is how we execute a process through orchestrator. Now every time the process is executed, an instance you can see over here, they are the instance. And when you go to the logs section, you can see all the logs. So you go to audit, you can see all the logs over here. You want to see specific logs, you can click on robot. You can see all the logs which are over here. Similarly, let's suppose we'll schedule a process. So go to scheduler, click on plus sign. You can give a sample name to the scheduler. So I'm going to give the same name. Which process, time zone, you can give your time zone. So I'm going to give Indian time zone. When you want to execute a process, so I want to execute a process every minute. Let's suppose I'll give you every 5 minutes I want to execute a process. Where you want to execute a process, you can choose a specific robot and then what action. So once your process has been executed, if you want to add a specific action, you can add an action. But ideally, let's go over here and then you can see this many types of schedule we can do it. So I'm going to give daily schedule over here, and this process will be scheduled as per Indian Standard Time. So this is hour, this is a minute. These are the scheduled duration you can give it. So click on schedule. So the schedule has been created. Now every minute this schedule will keep on running. So when I go to the studio, we'll wait for minute to over, and every minute this schedule will execute the process. So next run in a minute you can see over here. So now it's 7:54. As soon as it becomes 7:55, it will going to execute the process. So you can see as per the schedule, the process has been executed. Now this process will keep on executing every 1 minute. So now the next schedule will be 7:56. So we'll wait for 7:56 also. Let me test it. So it is 7:56 now. Let's try to wait for the process to be scheduled. So go back to the scheduler. You can give a small refresh. Okay. So now it is in every 4 minutes. Okay. So this is how all the components of orchestrator are linked to your robot and we execute the process. What's important over here is your orchestrator registration and your robot registration. Any doubts, Devinder?
No,
So, so have you tried implementing in your laptop?
Orchestrator?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Okay. So, Devendra, do you have any specific thing to discuss in Orchestrator as you were telling in the beginning?
No, no, I was just asking about assets and all. Assets. And like how we fetch the data through queue.
Assets, right?
And how we fetch the data through queues.
Okay. Done. So today I'm going to show you about the assets, how it's going to use the asset, and
Mayur,
yes, Devendra.
I, I think I'm clear with the assets. Just show me like how we can get the data through queues.
Okay. Okay. So when it comes to the queue management over here, so the queue management works in different ways. So first you need to load data into the queue. Once you have loaded data into the queue, you have to retrieve data from the queue, start working on the data, and then once you have completed, change the transaction settings or transactions status. So ideally these are the four steps you work in the queue management. So first load data into the queue, second retrieve data from the queue. So one process for loading data into the queue, other process will retrieve data from the queue, and then you start working on the queue data, and then as you start progressing you keep on changing the queue transaction status. So let's go to the studio, and so I'll just stop the scheduler over here. Let's make it weekly or every 3 hours, 6 hours. So you can see on the screen in the studio, under the activity called orchestrator, we have a queue section over here. So this queue section will have you some items, some activities over here. So add queue items activity will help you to add item to the queue. Then get items queue activity will help you to get all the items from the queue. And then set transaction progress and set transaction status will help you to set the status of each data item as you start working on. the queue data. So let's see how do we add data to the queue. So I'm going to create one new process, and this process name I'm going to give as add data to the queue. So when you click on this activity in the right side, you can see over here there are certain parameters which you can check. Your queue information. So queue information will go in the form of your collections, your queue data, default date, and default time. So deadline represent the time till the duration you can use a queue item. That means if suppose you set a deadline of tomorrow's 2 o'clock in the evening, so the items of the queue will be accessed till that time. So that is what your deadline. So it is a defer time which help you to set an expiry date to the queue data items. Postponed is like when you want people to start the queue access only at a specific time, then it is called as postponed. Let's suppose you added data to the queue and that queue data should be utilized only after 2 days of specific time. So then that is called as postponed. So it's a date after which your queue item may be processed or it may be accessed by the process. So deadline is like the date till the last date before you can access your queue data. Then you have to give a name to the queue, and then in the reference section you can see over here. So what happens, right, if you already have a queue item and you already have been using this queue item, so you can reference it over here. So most probably this reference is not that much utilized. What option is utilized is queue name, your postpone date, deadline date, queue information, and the priority. So when you click on this priority, you can see over here, you can also set the priority level of the queue. Scroll down, you can see over here, you can make this queue private. So this is as per the requirement, you can configure it. What's important over here is your collection. So click over here, you can see you can set your collection over here. So these are the values which you can keep on setting over here one by one. Now whenever we try to load data into the queue, so this time your queue data will be called as arguments. So I can set it from here also. So this is all the arguments which is available over here. So let's suppose I'm going to create one data item called name. This name I want to share it over here, so you can just give it direction. In means input, out means output, input output means both the purpose it can be used. Value, you can give any argument values which you want to share. I want to share the values which I'm getting from this variable. Same, let's suppose So as I was discussing, to load data into the queue of your UiPath orchestrator, you have to follow some certain steps. Those steps are here. First, you load data into the queue. Then you retrieve data from the queue, and you start working on the data items. Now, each data items in the queue is called as transactions or transaction items. Before even that, you have to go to the orchestrator. You have to create a queue over here. To create a queue in the orchestrator, then load data into the queue with the help of studio activity. Then once this activity is done, you can create one more process and you can retrieve data from the queue. First, you have to retrieve data from the queue. Then that data which you want to retrieve from the queue is called as transaction item. So that data item which you're going to retrieve from the queue is also called as transaction items. So start working on that transaction items. Once you have finished the working on the transaction item, you change the transaction item status to completed, and then you move on to next item in the queue. So ideally, to work in the queue, we have this many steps only. So let's go back to the UiPath orchestrator and we'll create a queue over here. So click on this plus sign. You can see we have create queue option. So you can give any name to the queue. Let's suppose I want to give data source, and you can give a small description. This is a demo queue to store data. Now we have two options called unique reference and auto retry. So unique reference will going to create a unique entry for each kind of record you are adding over there. So by default this option is optional. You can leave it blank. Next is we have auto retry. So what happens, right? Suppose you have 10 record in the queue. Now while processing the data from the queue, each record one by one, so you might encounter some error at some kind of data. So in that case, if you want to retry the same data once again, that is what called maximum attempt over here or maximum retry. That means if you're trying to access the data from the queue and when you try to operate on that transaction item, in case there is some error with the transaction item, if you want to reprocess the same transaction item once again, then you can set the maximum number of retries over here. So by default it is 1. You can go come back over here and give 2. Which says that when you load it into the queue, each record in the queue or each work item in the queue while processing will have two maximum attempts. The first attempt, it is failing. Then again you get one more attempt and you can reprocess the same record once again. So this is what called auto retry. Now once your record has been created, so once a queue has been created, click on create. So your queue is in queue section. You can see the queue over here, queue has been created. Now this name you have to reference. So when you click over here, you can just grant it. So this name you have to take while adding data to the queue. You load data over here. So in each queue, if you have any kind of error, you can come back to your request review and you can review the request for the transaction items. So go to the studio, click on add queue item. Now add queue item is an activity which will help you to add item to the queue. Select that activity. In the right side we have list of parameters. All of these parameters are not required. Some are optional. So we'll just give the queue name over here. So this queue name should be present in the queue. Apart from that, you can also set the priority level of the queue. So I'll just give normal priority level. Now you want to add data into the queue, so that is your queue information or your item information over here. So I'm trying to add one single information, which is your name, and the type is the string. You can add any type of item to the queue. So most probably I'm going to add one item called string, name which is a string. Now run the process. So go to start and design and try to run the process. So once the process has been executed, you can click on your output section and you can see over here that it has been successfully executed. And then when you go back to the queue item, you can see view transaction. So view transaction will show you the data. So I have valued view transaction and you can just, now the transaction is out there. So to use this transaction, you have to go back to your, you can see over here all the information about the transaction. So once the item is ready, you go back to your studio and then you retrieve the transaction from the queue and then you start working on the queue item. So likewise, similarly, we have one more option called view chart. So this will help you to view a graphical representation of the queue, what is happening. So how many transaction was successful, how many applications using this exception. So this is the graphical representation of your transaction. Since we have not yet transact anything, so we are not able to see any data over here. But when you click on this data source, and when you try to view the transaction, since we loaded one transaction now, so you can see over here it is coming displaying over here. Next, what you have to do is that we'll take this aside and then we'll try to use get queue items. So click over there, you can see in the right side, when you click over there, you have to specify the queue name and then in the output we have the queue items. Also, you have some options over here. If you want to set some kind of filtering options, you can set it over here. So we'll do a proper practical for this. Maybe I'll try to bring this assignment. So I have already made one assignment for this queue over here. So already I have made one assignment for that. So what I'll do is that I'll use the same assignment and I'll showcase you in the practical way. So this is Excel file. We're going to read the entire data from the Excel file and then we'll try to process it through the queue. So this is sample data. It has some data in the queue.